Welcome to today's presentation. Today, we're going to explore how to use the word agree correctly in English. We'll look at some common expressions like agree with, agree on or about, agree that, and agree to. Understanding how to use these phrases properly is essential for clear and accurate communication. For example, when you say, "I agree with you," it shows your agreement with a person or their opinion. If you want to discuss a topic or a decision, you might say, "We agree on the project details," or "We agree about the schedule." When expressing support for an idea or statement, agree that is useful, as in, "I agree that education is important." And if you're consenting to a plan or proposal, you'd say, "I agree to the terms." By mastering these different constructions, you'll be able to express agreement more precisely and confidently. This understanding ties back to our overall goal of improving your English grammar and usage skills. Let's take a closer look at what the word agree really means. Essentially, it means to have the same opinion as someone else. When we agree, we're sharing a common perspective or understanding. It also means to accept or share an idea, plan, or decision, which is an important part of working together or making decisions as a group. For example, if I say, "I agree with you completely," that shows I share your opinion and support it. When we say, "We all agree on the plan," it indicates a consensus among everyone involved. And if someone says, "They agreed to help," it means they have accepted the idea or decision to assist. Understanding this concept of agreement is key to effective communication and collaboration, which ties into our overall theme of working well with others. Recognizing when we agree and how to express it can help us build trust and move projects forward smoothly. When we want to express that we share the same opinion or belief as someone else, we use the phrase agree with. This structure is often followed by a person, idea, or statement. For example, you might say, "I agree with the points mentioned in your essay," which shows that you share the same perspective on the essay's content. Another example is, "Many people agree with the idea that exercise improves mental health." This highlights how common it is to support that idea. You could also say, "I agree with the statement that education is a lifelong process," emphasizing your alignment with that belief. In a discussion or debate, you might hear, "The audience agreed with his argument about climate change," demonstrating that the listeners supported his viewpoint. Overall, this phrase helps us clearly and politely show our agreement, which is crucial in conversations, debates, and written communication. It connects directly to the broader theme of expressing opinions and engaging with others' ideas effectively. Now let's look at how we use agree on and agree about. When we talk about a topic, plan, or decision, we often say we agree on something. For example, we might say, "We all agreed on a date for the meeting," or "The committee agreed on the new project proposal." In these cases, agree on is used because we're discussing a specific topic or plan that everyone has come to an agreement about. On the other hand, agree about is used when talking about opinions or beliefs. For instance, you might say, "We agree about the importance of education," meaning everyone shares the same view on that issue. Or, "My parents and I agree about the value of healthy eating," which shows a shared opinion within a family. It's also important to note what these phrases are not used for. If you're talking about a person or an opinion, you'd use agree with. For example, "I agree with your idea," or "They don't agree with the decision." So to sum up, remember, agree on is for topics, plans, or decisions, what you're all discussing or deciding. Agree about is for opinions or beliefs, what you think or feel about something. And agree with is used when referring to a person or their opinion. These distinctions help us communicate clearly and precisely when discussing agreements. When we talk about agreeing with someone, we often use the phrases agree on and agree about, but they are used in slightly different ways. When we say agree on, we're referring to a specific decision, plan, or thing that has been settled. For example, if we say, "We agreed on the time and place for the party," it means we've made a definite decision about those details. On the other hand, agree about is used when we're discussing a more general topic or idea. For instance, if I say, We agree about the importance of family. It means we share the same opinion on the general idea or concept, but there's no specific decision involved. So the key point here is to remember that agree on is for concrete plans or decisions, while agree about is for more abstract ideas or topics. This distinction helps us communicate clearly and accurately when discussing agreements in different contexts, which is really important in both formal and informal conversations. It ties into our overall theme of effective communication, making sure we express our ideas and agreements precisely. When we want to show that we agree with an idea, a statement, or a fact, we often use the phrase agree that. It's a useful way to express our support or alignment with what someone has said. The key structure here is agree that followed by a complete sentence, which includes a subject and a verb. For example, I might say, I agree that learning English takes daily practice. This clearly shows I support the idea that consistent effort is necessary for language learning. Similarly, she might say, she agrees that we need to start the meeting on time, indicating her agreement with the importance of punctuality. It's important to notice that when we use agree that, we're often emphasizing a shared understanding or consensus. We all agree that teamwork makes a big difference, or he agreed that the movie was too long. Using this structure helps us communicate clearly that we support or believe in the statement being made. In the context of our overall theme, effective communication, using agree that properly can strengthen our discussions and show that we are aligned with others' ideas. It's a simple yet powerful way to build consensus and demonstrate agreement in both formal and informal conversations. When we talk about agree to, we're referring to situations where someone consents to do something, whether it's an action, a condition, a promise, or a plan. It's a very common way to express positive commitment. The structure we use is quite simple, agree to plus a verb or a noun. For example, if I say, I agreed to help him move into his new apartment, it shows my willingness to assist with the move. Or, we agreed to meet at the cafe after class, which means we've both decided on that plan. You might also hear, she agreed to call the client tomorrow, indicating a promise to make a phone call. Or, they agreed to work together on the presentation, showing a mutual plan. And even, he agreed to lend me his notes for the exam, which is a kind gesture that also involves an agreement. So the key takeaway here is that agree to is a versatile phrase used whenever someone consents or commits to doing something, making it a useful part of everyday communication, especially when discussing plans or commitments. Connecting this to the overall theme, it helps us express agreement clearly and politely in various contexts. Now, let's take a closer look at the different ways we can use the word agree in various contexts. First, when we say agree with someone or an idea, it means we share the same opinion. For example, you might say, I agree with you, to show that you see eye to eye with someone. Next, agree on or agree about is used when we are in agreement about a specific topic or decision. For instance, we agree on the plan indicates that everyone is on the same page regarding that particular plan. Then, there's agree that followed by a clause, which expresses a shared belief or opinion, like I agree that it's important. Lastly, agree to is used when someone consents or promises to do something, such as she agreed to help. These different structures help us communicate agreement clearly and precisely, which is essential in both professional and everyday conversations. Understanding these nuances will improve how you express agreement and collaborate effectively. Now, let's move on to the practice activity. I'm going to give you some sentences with blanks, and your task is to fill in the correct form of the verb or phrase. This will help you understand how to use these expressions properly in different contexts. For example, in the first sentence, we use agree with a specific structure, so it should be, we agree to meet at 6 p.m. In the second, when you say, I agree with your opinion, you're showing that you share or accept someone else's viewpoint. The third sentence highlights that they agree that teamwork is important, emphasizing the importance of the idea itself. And finally, in the last sentence, my parents agree with my decision, showing support for a personal choice. The key takeaway here is understanding which prepositions or phrases to use after agree. because they change the meaning and the grammatical structure of your sentences. So practice filling in these blanks carefully, and remember, the context determines whether you should use with, on, about, or to. This will really help you communicate more accurately and naturally in English.